What is up, Squared Nation? Welcome back to No Counters, No Combos. I know it's been a while since I've done one of these types of videos, but we are going to go over the Cheelai Wish Gohan deck that I used in a recent Battle Chamber video. So stay tuned, and I hope you guys enjoy the deck profile. Intro, we're going to go over the Cheelai Limo deck profile. I will post like an image at the end of the video with the full deck list, like with the full deck fanned out. I know I normally use Shenron's Lair, but I actually own the card, so I figured I might as well just do this now since I have the deck already built in real life and I don't have it built on Shenron's Lair just yet. So at the end of the video I'll do like an overview of the whole deck card for card, so that for those of you who don't really like watching deck profile videos, you can just fast forward to the end and screenshot the list and start testing it. 100% this is not going to be the final build. There's definitely things that I need to change for different ratios for more consistency, but for the most part, just kind of a preliminary build. I am happy with how it performed, and I figured I'd get it out there because there's a lot of people who like this leader and like this archetype. So we're going to start with the leader, of course. We have Cheelai Limo. It's a wish leader, so it's not as standard as others. She can attack on the front side, and once per turn you can look through your life or your deck to add one Dragon Ball to your hand and then shuffle any pile that you looked for. So this wish leader does awaken a lot slower than other wish leaders, but we have some support cards in the deck that will help us fuel our awakening as fast as possible. And then when you have, of course, 7 Dragon Balls in the drop area, you can flip to the back side. You can add a Broly BR from your drop area to your hand, which we don't play any in this deck, so it's kind of useless. And then obviously it's a wish leader on the back, so once per turn you can draw a card, you can activate a free desire, or its ultimate skill is you can remove all 7 Dragon Balls from the game, and you can play 2 Frieza Army battle cards that are cost 2 or less from your deck and play them onto your battle area. Essentially none of that is used in this deck. Like, I don't use the ultimate ever, and I don't really awaken to get the Broly BR. It's literally the only good green wish leader that we have right now. Pilaf is questionable at best. Cheelai is way better than Pilaf, but I definitely will be experimenting with that leader as well. But in the meantime, this is what we have, and we're going to be using Cheelai because she's specifically a green leader. So that's the leader. And then obviously, with the rest comes, we're running 6 Dragon Balls. I guess I could fan these out like this. We're running 6 regular Dragon Balls and 1 Super Dragon Ball. The reason I'm running Super Dragon Ball and not 1 Star Ball, my theory behind 1 Star Ball is there are a lot of decks in the format right now that just draw a ton of cards. So for them, negging 1 doesn't really hurt them too much. And I'd rather do a couple different things on turn 1 if I can, or pass with the energy open. Super Dragon Ball is really good because I can draw 4 cards and then pitch my pieces to the drop area that I need to use for wish targets or whatever the case may be. So it's okay to tap out on turn 2 for this. There's not a lot of decks that will kill you on turn 2 right now. Obviously we're not in set 7 just yet, so there are not a lot of decks that will kill you turn 2, but you definitely have to be smart when you play this card. You don't want to just tap out willy-nilly and not have a plan. But for the most part, it is okay to tap out to play Forced Super Dragon Ball, and it does gain you a crap ton of advantage. So that's our Dragon Ball package, and then we're going to go into the desires here. So I play 4 Personal Ambitions. Personal Ambition is just really good. It's a draw 1, filter through your deck. Obviously, wish leaders just, primarily play a crap ton of extra cards. But stuff that you could get out of your hand early is pretty good. If I need to activate my leader skill to free play this, I can untap an energy, so it's pretty good for defensive purposes as well. And it's also yellow energy, which is something that this deck lacks a little bit of it. That's why I want to change some of the ratios. But this card, turn 1, if I could charge 1 and play 1, it's pretty good. And then I have this yellow discard for Nimbus later if I need it. But again, for the most part, it's essentially just a cantrip, play a draw card. You fuel your drop area for sparking, stuff like that, so it's not that bad of a card. Then we have 2 World Peace and 2 Plea for Salvation. Now, the reason I'm running a 2-2 split is because I play other battle cards in this deck that cannot be targeted by Plea for Salvation. Plea for Salvation is essentially the same as World Peace. However, you can only target a green battle card. It does give you an added bonus of destroying a 2 or less when you play this card. So, for those of you who are playing Toa, as you did see in the Battle Chamber, you can Plead for Salvation and destroy a time regulator, which is going to set Toa back a lot. But I like the 2-2 split because I can use it. World Peace essentially will grab anything, and then Plead for Salvation will grab my green cards specifically. And of course, I can always charge this and not feel too bad because it's green energy. I always have World Peace in my back pocket if I need to. So those are just your basic recursion cards as far as your desires go. And then to wrap everything up, as far as extra cards for Wish Leaders, we have 2 Dragon Radar. I was playing 1 originally, and I bumped it up to 2 just because it's just too good of a card. Filtering 2 balls and drawing. There have been times where I've 1-star ball, where I've Dragon Radar on turn 3 to get a 2-star Dragon Ball, and then tap out for a 2-star for a Super Dragon Ball and draw 4 cards again. Obviously, that's a huge ballsy play, but this card just has a lot of utility. You can recycle your desires from the drop area if you need to. You can get free balls and play them for draw. So it just has a lot of synergy with the deck. Worst case scenario, you can pitch it off of Super Dragon Ball if you need to, or you can charge it if you really need to. But I think 2 is the sweet spot. I wouldn't play more, wouldn't play less. I think it's just the right number. So next we're going to kind of get into our early turn, or our early game. We have Supreme Kai of Time Disruptor, and we have 2 Crisis Crushers. So the reason I'm playing these is because Crisis Crusher is a good turn 1 to play against your opponent if they're setting up a board, and you can kill their 1-drops, especially right now. Kid Ku is so prevalent in the format. You can just kill the 1-drop Kid Ku and you don't have to worry about anything else. It also stops those little 1-drop decks from going wide on you early. Intensifying Power Trunks, Fearless Assault Krillin, Awakening Talent Pan, Dark Power Black Masan. There's just so many 1-drops in the game that swing early to take life, and having Crisis Crusher on board prevents that from happening, so it's pretty good for turn 1. And there's not a lot of removal early in the game right now. I mean, Kid Ku does have Training Buddy Krillin to go into, but everything else is kind of spot removal, like Banisher Fu and Masan. So I don't really have an issue with playing Crisis Crusher. I think 2 is the perfect number. I pretty much saw it in most of my games when I was playing at level 1 the other day, so it's pretty good. And then Time Disruptor. I love this card. It's essentially a negate. So you play it, turn 1 or turn 2, depending on if your opponent plans on going wide, and you just shut them down because they really can't attack you with anything greater than 2 on turn 2. So if your turn 1 play is Crisis Crusher, and your turn 2 play is Charge, play a Dragon Ball, and you pass with 2 energy open, you can just windmill slam this down on the table when they try to do something. Again, and it's also 2 or less. It's not just 2s. So it's the same thing with the 1-drops. You have Crisis Crusher in combination with that. If for some reason they get rid of your Crisis Crusher and they want to start playing 1-drops, you can play the Time Disruptor, and just saves you a turn. You need to survive to turn 4 with this deck because you don't do anything until turn 4, which is kind of bad, but at the same time, once you get to turn 4, every other turn after that is just straight gas. There's not much you can't do after turn 4, but you need to ensure that you get there. So there's a lot of early setup involved with this deck. There's a lot of early defense with this deck. The fact that you're getting Dragon Balls very, very slowly is another thing that just hurts. But I like these combinations of cards here. I think Time Disruptor is going to be a staple moving forward, especially in best of 1 formats, because there's going to be a lot of decks that are going to want to swing with 2-drops and stuff. And this just kind of shuts down the Kid Ku for the early turns. You're not really giving them advantage by swinging with your leader, so just having them to force advantage on their own does kind of set them back a little bit. So that's my early game there, and then we're going to go into our green package, which is going to be pretty interesting. I'm playing 4 Namekian, Nail the Namekian Ace. This was a last-minute addition. I had 4 empty slots in my deck, and I didn't know what card to use. So I just kind of wanted something with synergy. This is a green 2-drop. You'll see why the cost is significant moving forward. And it's not bad. It's Bond 2. You're always going to have some type of a board, whether it's Crisis Crusher or Time Disruptor or other cards that we'll get to. So playing this for 2 or recurring it, you know, it's not that bad. It's going to draw you a card. It's going to go up to 15k. It's not too bad. These are one of the changes I would make to the deck. I definitely feel like the deck requires more yellow sources, so Nail is probably my first thing on the chopping block. But it did have its purposes in the deck so far. It's good green energy. If anything, it's a free 5k combo, so you're not really negging too hard when you combo with it. And if you need like a last minute swing, you can just always go into Nail because he's going to be 15k. It combos really well with one of the cards that we'll show later. So we'll get into that as well. But this is definitely one of the changes I would make to the deck. I'd probably change out Nail for some more yellow. Next, I'm probably going to get a lot of flack for this, but my super combo is Defensive Stance Vegeta. Now, before everybody panics and asks me, oh, why are you not playing Paragus? You know, Paragus is such a good super combo. It draws you 2 and gets rid of dead cards. Yes, all that in theory is very, very true. However, there have been so many times when I played this deck with Paragus super combos that I've gotten to my maybe turn 4 or turn 5 and I've only had about 3 or 4 cards left in the deck, knowing that I had to draw 2 off of my super combo and knowing that one of my bigger plays draws me 2 anyway. It just felt bad, you know, not being able to do anything, having 12 cards in hand but not being able to make a play because you're going to deck yourself out. So I just made I made the cautious decision of changing it to Defensive Stance because I can control when I draw with this card. And that'll get more explanation as we move forward, but this only draws me 1. It's a sparking, so I don't have to wait to activate Paragus when I'm at 4 life. That's another thing too. Having to wait to get to 4 life with a Wish Leader is kind of rough. I really don't want to be playing with 4 life because I want to use my life as a resource, especially for like sparking and stuff like that, for like negates. So I feel like this is probably the best super combo for this build of the deck. If you're playing like Victory Strike or something like that, then obviously Paragus, you don't really care if you go down to 4 life because you're just going to Victory Strike. But I need to survive, and there are times where you can get pushed down to 4, you know, very, very early, and I don't want to play with 4. I want to be playing with like 5 or 6 life as long as I possibly can, so I can use my life as a toolbox resource. But instead of going down to 4 automatically to activate my super combos, it just doesn't feel good. So I play 2 Defensive Stance Vegetas. Worst case scenario, he's a 2-drop 15k. Now that doesn't really happen too often, but you know, it is a target for recursion if I need it. And then of course you have to play 4 of Oob, Symbol of Hope. You have to play this card at 4. You need to see this card opening hand. This leader awakens very, very slowly. It cycles through balls very, very slowly. You need to get your balls and drop as fast as possible. It kind of sucks not being able to draw off of them, but you need to awaken by like turn 2, turn 3 the latest. You can't be awakening turn 4, turn 5, which can happen if you brick. So Oob is like super necessary. I was tinkering with 3 or 4 copies for like the longest time, but I felt like, you know what, I need to see this card. Worst case scenario, I can charge it or use it as combo fodder. You just need to see it. Like, you have no idea how important it is to awaken with this deck at 2 or 3 life. You just have to do it. Even though you don't go off until turn 4, being an extra 5k stronger with your leader and just having more natural defense early, since you're not really swinging at your opponent, they have to combo up to do damage. It's very, very crucial, and it also gets rid of 1-drops if anything. So if you're playing against a 1-drop deck early and they want to swing at you with like intensifying power trunks, or if they want to play their 1-drop Kidku, you can just combo pop with Oob and get your balls in the drop and just go with that way. This card is a must-of at 4, unless we get another type of facilitator for green, like a 1-drop cantrip that you play it and you search a ball. Yellow has Sorbet, red has Mai, green and blue don't have. So we'll see what happens, but this card is 100% necessary at 4. Next card, the Spice. We're playing 4 Display of Son Gohan, Display of Strength. When the anniversary box got announced, I was super excited that Gohan was getting support because obviously he is my favorite character, but this is my favorite iteration of him. When obviously during the Cell Saga, that's when he was his most badass. So I'm super glad that we got support for this specific archetype because it allows you to go into piercing. But this card is nuts. It's a 4-drop. It's 19k power, and when you play it, if your leader is green, you draw 2 cards, and then you can evolve this guy on top of him for free. So this is what made me super happy. I love this card. I love the artwork on this card. It's very iconic as far as the lore of Dragon Ball and the time that it happened in the anime. So being able to actually play this card, and it actually is pretty good, especially since they updated the ruling on it. His effect is when he is played. So the way it's worded is really weird because it's a set 2 card, so all that wording from like set 2 is like weird. But basically when he plays his auto triggers, your opponent, you send all of your opponents, you choose your opponent's battle cards that cost 3 or less and send them to the drop. So you basically board wipe them, that's 3 or less, and then the turn you play him, when your opponent combos, if they combo with a card cost 3 or less, it immediately goes to the drop area. So what that means is combo power doesn't register until after the like actual registration of the combo. So his auto prevents anything that combos 3 or less to register combo power. So super combos, yes, you'll be able to draw off your super combo, but you won't register the 10k combo power. So it just immediately goes to the drop. So in order for you to successfully combo against this card, the turn he's played, you have to combo with something that costs 4 or greater. Now there are a few free 5k combos that are cost 4 or greater. There's not many, but there are a few. So it's definitely not something that's unavoidable, but for the most part, if a well-timed Piercing Sun Gohan prevents your opponent from comboing, that's huge, especially because he's double strike. So, and he comes down for free on top of Display of Strength, so it's really, really good. Obviously, you can free wish in the Gohan, pop a card, draw 2, and then play him right on top. So that's why Plea for Salvation is very, very good. And I'm really happy that this got support because I love this card. This card is just so good, and ever since the ruling changed, it's actually gotten even better. So next we're going to go into some support. I'm playing 2 Shenron Figure of Majesty. This was very, very last minute that I added this card in. I was focusing more on just like a regular, just like heavy green splash of yellow deck. But I was looking at my cards and I was like, I just need more utility, I need more resource, I need more like management. And Figure of Majesty is just really, really good. Whether you're tapping 4 or world piecing it for free, it gets you so much value for every turn that it's on the board. It essentially becomes a defender because any type of spot removal that your opponent's going to have, they're going to want to get rid of this card because you're going to just generate too much advantage off of it. So obviously, for those of you who don't know, it's got like 3 different effects. They're all activate mains. It can't attack, so that's permanent. It's a free 5k 20. It's a free 5k combo, 20k power, 4-drop. Its skill is activate main once per turn. You can draw a card, and then you can choose one of 3 skills. You can untap 2 energy. You can choose one of your battle cards and give it plus 5k in critical for the duration of the turn, or you can recur a 2-drop or less from the drop area. So again, this is where Nail comes in. This is where your super combo comes in if need be. This is where the Time Disruptor, Supreme Kai, just to draw another card if you want to play it that way. There are a few targets in the deck for it, but your main target is going to be Nail or super combo, and then Nail's going to come down offensively, swing for a draw, and then defensively you will recur a super combo and then have all that combo power. But him in combination with Piercing Super Saiyan 2 Son Gohan is great because you're almost guaranteeing yourself to double strike crit damage, which is insane. I mean, like them not being able to combo out of the swing and then you giving it crit, it's like 30k double strike crit is just insane. This card's really, really good. And I'm kind of glad that I just threw it in last minute. This is definitely a mainstay. It's not going anywhere. And being able to world piece it is actually really good as well. For further support, I guess you could call this your pseudo finisher. We have Dark Banisher, Fu the Dark Banisher. So this card came out in the anniversary box. This card is insane. I mean, it's overall for 4 energy. You have to have 8 in the drop. And when he comes down, he's a triple attack. That's it. He doesn't have double strike, triple strike, no, he's just triple attack. But he has a permanent that if your opponent attempts to activate a skill, they have to warp a card from their hand. Now, it's any skill. It's not a keyword skill, it's not auto, it's nothing like that. So any skill, whether it's a counter, whether it's a super combo, anything with an auto, awakening skills, your opponent has to warp cards out of their hand. So the big like home run play in this deck is to essentially get your Gohan on board, So you plead for salvation or you world peace in your 4-drop, draw 2 cards, evolve the Gohan on top, triggering his auto, so you blow up your opponent's board, and then obviously the whole combo thing. If you've set it up perfectly and you have Shenron on board, it's even better, because you can activate Shenron's skill to draw a card and then give Gohan critical, or you can recur a 2-drop, and then you tap 4 to overwhelm this guy. So because Gohan prevents your opponent from comboing, they now have to combo with cards that cost more or use their negates. And if they try to do that, you're going to have to warp a card out of your hand from Fu. So that combination of Piercing Super Saiyan 2 Son Gohan and Fu the Dark Banisher is just a lot of pressure on your opponent. I was playing against Ralph. Shout out to Ralph. I was playing against him round 3 at level 1 when we were playing at our locals, and he was playing skillless, and I brought him down from 6 life to 0 life in the turn I summoned those 2 guys. It's serious. It's a lot of pressure. The Kid Crew, like, you know, pretty much every card that you combo with in that deck has to activate some type of skill. If he combos with a skillless card, he will only be able to register 5k power off of leader skill, because the skillless cards are 3 or less, so he'll have to put him in the drop. But then because he activated that leader skill, he has to now warp a card. So you're actually going in neg2, and you're only getting 5k off of it. And then same thing with the 4-star ball. 4-star ball is not a free 5k combo, it's an activate battle. So that's a skill. So if you're going to combo with the ball, then you now have to warp a card out of your hand for that too. So Fu the Dark Banisher is just really really good as far as like I don't really consider him a finisher. I think he's more of like a support finisher. Like, he can't finish games on his own unless you give it unless you're playing the 5-drop Wish Granter Shenron from set 5 that gives it triple strike. But I mean, that's a stretch, right? So that's 9 energy if you need to do it that way. But I don't think he's a finisher on his own. He needs definitely some type of support. But people were using this a lot in the Atlantic City Invitational with Gogeta 7, especially in Kid Q decks. So they would Gogeta 7, pass, and then next turn bring him out instead of Demigra, and it was just game from there. So this card's really, really good. Obviously, I'm not nice, so they're not foil, but it's just a really, really solid card. And that's what makes the ultimate Shenron ability in this deck kind of useless. I'm warping pretty much everything when I bring him out, so I don't have the opportunity to activate the Shenron ultimate skill. And then we're going to go into our counters here. We're playing 4 Shocking Deathball. Sometimes this feels like a little too much, but then again, sometimes it doesn't. It is a Sparking Negate. Cheelai cannot take life. You cannot use cards that take life on your turn, but you can use Shocking Deathball. That's why you want to stay like around 5 or 6 life so you can defend as much as you possibly can. This has really good matchups now, especially against Kid Ku, blowing up their 2-drops or their training buddies, against Toa, blowing up their time regulators. So, it has really good synergy in the meta right now. There's a lot of pan decks floating around. This pops into your trunks, so it's just really good card. Obviously, it saves you. You're playing a green leaner. It's beneficial. And if you have Sparking active, you can just use your life as a toolbox, which is what I mentioned earlier. And then the last negate we have is 3 Flying Nimbus. Now, what I mentioned earlier about the yellow count in this deck being pretty low, I found that most of the time I was charging a Nimbus, and then when I went to go activate Nimbus, the only card I had left to pitch was Nimbus. So I was utilizing 3 Nimbuses, but I was only resolving one of the actual counters to it. There was one time I got lucky where I drew my last personal ambition off of Display of Strength Son Gohan, and I had the personal ambition and the Nimbus in hand. So I used just the personal ambition for fodder, but the yellow count is super, super low. You need to charge 1 yellow in the deck, so that's totally fine. You only need to charge 1 yellow, but then you have to have sources to pitch for Nimbus. Now, the reason I'm playing Nimbus is because, like I said earlier, you need to survive until turn 4. And with Battering getting banned on the 26th, Nimbus becomes probably the strongest counter in the game because it essentially stops your opponent from continuing to go wide. So if your opponent makes the mistake of attacking with their leader first, you plop this down. They can only attack with 1 more battle card. You can Shocking Death Ball if you need to, or you can just combo out or take the damage depending on the situation in the game. But Nimbus is very strong moving forward in the meta right now, and it's probably one of the best, if not the best negate in the game. but you need more yellow sources to pitch for it. Like I said earlier, Nail is probably the main target that I'm going to be having to take out of the deck to add more yellow source into it. But I'm not exactly sure yet. When I update the list, I'll definitely keep you guys posted. But for the most part, I mean, that's the deck. I'm going to go ahead and fan it out and show you guys a full list so you can screenshot it and try testing it yourselves. So that's pretty much the full deck list. Like I said, test it out. Make sure you guys screenshot this so you can build it. Make some adjustments. Let me know in the comments section down below if you have any suggestions as to what I should take out, any replacements. I am looking for more yellow sources. Again, I do have ideas of what I need to cut, but the space in the deck is really, really tight. So try it out. It's a lot of fun, especially at a local level. Do I think this deck could be competitive? Maybe. It just depends on how you sequence your plays. Most important thing about Dragon Ball, right? But hopefully you guys enjoyed it. I know this is like new here. We haven't really done one of these types of videos in a long time, but I plan on doing more of these in the future. If you guys like it, if not, I'll go back to the Shenron's Lair format. It's not a problem. I just felt like this might just be easier for me to do since I literally played the deck this week and had it just thrown together anyway. So thank you guys so much for the support. We really do appreciate it here in No Counters, No Combos. And we will see you guys in the next video. Be there or be squared.